Hold it, Terry. I've got a problem.
Houston.
Right. Okay, Terry. There's a problem with young women in Melbourne going home late at night. There's been a number of murders over the last year or so, and one has been killed within the last 48 hours. What can we do to make Melbourne a safer place, particularly open spaces?
Well, Alan, it seems to me that that problem could be largely solved by introducing random police checks at any time of night with police accompanied by dogs. The criminals or the potential criminals, the hooligans, will be frightened off by the dogs. Nobody likes a dog. And these patrols could patrol every park in Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane, wherever it may be. And they drop in at the park for half an hour at any time, night or day, accompanied by the dog. I think this would go a long way to clearing the problem up, because a lot of these people are itinerant drinkers, drug takers, ne'er-do-wells hanging around in the park for opportunity crime and opportunistic crime.
So just to go over the dogs, because dogs are more sensitive to smell and other things, they would find someone hiding, would they?
Oh yes, you wouldn't hide from a dog. Impossible.
Okay, so give me a few more details.
Well, you could organise it so you have, let's say, a busload of policemen with dogs, and they could be dropped off on a circuit. Drop one policeman off in one park, then go to the next park or the next part of the park, and so on in an organised circuit, so that by the time they were all collected again from the park, their shift would be up. And you could get quite organised with that, because there are a lot of smallish parks around, or secluded places. It doesn't have to be parks. It could be back streets. It could be derelict building sites. It could be anywhere that criminals or potential criminals could hide. Basically would be subjected to a randomised search at any time, night or day, particularly at night, and that would provide no hiding place for them.
And I guess when we talked about this before, you said they might do two searches of the same area in one night occasionally, just to let people know it's not a one-off.
Well, that's part of the randomised. If you're going to randomise something, it could be twice, it could be three times, it could be once, it might be not. Maybe never, maybe it wouldn't be for one night. But the point is, nobody's going to sit down with a bottle of sly grog in the long grass and have a good drinking, smoking session with their mates if they know that they could be confronted by a German Shepherd at any time. It isn't conducive.
Yeah. It's not the type of thing police would naturally like to do. So, but I guess if you become a policeman, you're not going to always have ideal work to do. Is that about it? Or?
Oh, of course. I mean, it's not up to the policeman. The policeman does as he's told. That's why we pay them.
Yeah. Now, you've lived in London, and you were telling me about how young women feel about walking home late at night on their own in London, and it's a bit of a different society.
Well, it was in the day of the patrolling Bobby in London. People didn't think about walking home at night. You just went out and you did what you wanted to do. Nobody was in fear. Since the Bobbies have gone, then it's a different matter. But yeah.
Well, there's been talk in Sydney every few years that we ought to have more on the beat, but that doesn't seem to happen.
Well, that's because of bad management. We've got to get better police management. It isn't the individual policemen, it's the people at the top. You know, look how they screwed up the Lindt Cafe siege. They're just not very good people. We've got to find better managers, better managers, more imaginative managers.
Well, the experts used to say, and I don't know whether it still applies, that if you have a visual presence of a policeman walking on a bike even, or in a police car circling, the main areas of a suburb, that tends to knock the crime rate down.
Well, the problem with policing is there's two ways to do it. One is to catch and punish the perpetrator, and the other is to deter the crime from happening in the first place. Now, the system we utilise now is to catch and punish the perpetrator, which, if you're a murder victim, is all very well, but it's a bit late. But if you could deter the crime, it may cost a bit more money, maybe not, I don't know. But they should be there to deter the crime, to keep the people safe, not to catch the murderer post the event.
Right. Now, I've been a school teacher and you've had two daughters at school and thought a fair bit about education. Do you think it's possible to pick out these offenders or likely offenders, in late high school, or it's too hard to do and too inaccurate?
Well, very difficult to do without being accused of discrimination, that new word we use. You probably couldn't do it because of discrimination and typecasting and all that sort of thing. However, I am a firm believer that crime starts small. Crime starts with the hubcap stealing, the window breaking. If kids get away with that sort of thing and nobody punishes them, they'll go on to bigger and better things. So we've got to stop it. It's been proven in New York, the broken window laws and all that kind of thing. If you come down hard on the petty crime, you will stop, or you will minimise the more serious crimes later on.
Okay, thanks, Terry.